Okay, this is the 5-minute tarot for the 14th of April 2017, and this is a quick extra bit that about queens. And yesterday I was getting too long, so I had to stop. I had meant to finish with information about the queens. So it goes back to sunrise, noon, sunset, and midnight. And if we place the queen at sunset, because yesterday the video was talking about what's midnight and what does it represent. But if you think about sunset and relate it to the queen, in the first video on the 11th of April, I talked about the queen or sunset being dinner time and family get-togethers around the dinner table and conversing and talking and so on, which psychologists say is a very good habit to have. That is, there's something beneficial and therapeutic about sitting around a dinner table with people in the evening and maybe talking about what kind of day you had, that it actually makes for well-adjusted people to have that type of family time together at the end of the day, or let's say before the evening begins. But I was thinking about about sunset as twilight. And you know the word twins, and twins means there's two of them. TWI means two. And twilight, that you'll be familiar with, it's called twilight because there are two lights. And if you've ever driven at twilight, it can be really confusing because it's neither light nor dark. You're at that odd time between daylight and darkness. And it can be awkward to drive because it's hard to see. But just this idea that you've got two lights made me then think, okay, perhaps with queens, you're dealing with two, not two lights, but two types of behavior. Because I'm thinking about, okay, a queen can be a queen and have power and authority because she's married to the king, right? So that she has influence because of who she's married to or because of the family that she's a part of. So in a wider sense, this can be somebody has power and influence because they're a doctor or because they're a lawyer or because they're a member of a particular team, right? So the queen can have influence and power because on the one hand, one light, twilight. One light is that she's a member or she's married to the king. But on the other hand, it can be she's got power and influence because of her force of personality, because she's quite forceful. Because some people, you take them seriously just because they are who they are. Whereas other people, you don't, they're kind of lightweights or they say something, but you know that there's an expression of blowhard, somebody who is noisy and loud, but nobody takes them seriously. So I'm thinking with the queen, maybe we've got, because it relates to sunset and twilight, maybe with the queen, you're dealing with, on the one hand, power and influence and ability because of the group that you're a member of. And at the same time, we've got individual personality that can add to or take away from the power and influence that you have. And maybe when the queen is upright, the two go together. They match each other. So you've got a strong position, but you've also got the personality that can handle it. Whereas a queen reverse can be somebody who is in a strong position, but they don't know what to do. I watched a thing on YouTube a few days ago, and they talked about George W. Bush, who was a terrible president, but a really good politician. So he was able to get things done because he was a good politician. He knew how to talk to people and how to schmooze with senators and congressmen and other politicians, but he wasn't a very good president. And that can be the queen reversed, where you've got the position, but you haven't got the personality to make it work. So I'm not talking about queens as representing just women or people who have power because of who they're married to. It's not about roles that people play, but about Because yesterday I mentioned that what's important with a card is to understand what's going on with the card. So maybe when a queen comes up, it's important to understand what have you got going for you, and do you have the personality to bring it about, or do you have the presence or the state of understanding to make it, to actually make it happen, to make it work. And with the queen upright, that can be the challenge that is facing the questioner. And with the queen reversed, either they've got the personality but they don't have the position, or they've got the position but they don't have the person or the force of personality, let's say, to actually make the position their own, right, to make it work. Because some people do that. You know, you can find a queen reversed could be somebody who finds himself running the operation but they can't handle it, or they inherit power somehow, either because somebody retired and they took over because it was their turn, but they're not really that suited or equipped to be able to do what's required for somebody in that position. Or maybe it's the queen reversed can be somebody who's out their depth, one way or the other. It doesn't have to be a woman, a man or a woman or child. It's all the same. But in some way they're out of their depth. There are two things going on, two lights. So there's power and personality, and you need both maybe if you're represented by the queen. So maybe with the queen reversed, you talk to the person. Let's say you deal with each one individually. If the position is more than you can handle, then you maybe look at what's involved with the position and you set things up so that it's less demanding, or so that other people can handle some of the activity that you're not comfortable with. And that can be one way of dealing with a queen reversed. Look at the power position or the responsibilities of the position and do something about them. At the same time, maybe you look at your own, the questioner's own personality and bring in some change with it so that they can handle all the requirements of the job or all the requirements of the position that they're involved with. Okay, that turned out to be a bit longer than I had thought. So if you have questions or comments, let me know, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.